But I think we're going to start with our Secret Invasion episode 2 review.
This one started off kind of neat.
With the 90s flashback.
Yeah.
That was cool.
I wasn't expecting that.
No, I didn't think that there was like any flashback or de-aging stuff. And this is, I like this episode significantly more. I know last week, if anybody was watching or listening, I did not really love the first episode.
Right.
I still have issues with this episode, but I thoroughly enjoyed this one much, much more. And a lot of that has to do with they focused more on what the characters are going through and their relationships with one another and ramifications of past actions. So I think it was important to see that flashback with Nick Fury in the 90s because it really gives it gives because one of the issues with the first episode that I had was like I don't really understand the gravity of some of what's going on right now. They like it wasn't explicitly like necessarily.
Well,
like,
I mean,
but this gave it so much more because it was like you see the scene where he promised them like he was gonna find a new home, and you see that he knew Gravik. And at a young age, and you see like his relationship with Talos and how much everybody trusted him and like what the whole idea was, and then you get these new information, like you get new information throughout the episode that better shows where everybody's feeling about things. So. And I think it was paced better this time around. Whereas again, the first episode, I just felt like I was playing catch up with all the characters. Yeah. But yeah, what did you think about it?
I mean, I think I wasn't feeling like insanely stronger about this one, but I think it had like a lot of really good moments. Like I think, you have like the council scene with the scrolls, and you have like a bunch of characters that have popped up throughout the show in minor roles, like the newscaster, right? And so I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. I like this like secret council that's kind of like the government for the million plus scrolls that we learn about, which I thought was also a good scene. Yeah, I like that he didn't trust like Talos like fully and was like, you know what? I bet you're not telling me something. And yeah, he wasn't.
I liked that. I liked that scene, but it started off in a really like there's more
like him telling his backstory about his like grandmother or what?
Not that it's not good and like it definitely like was talking about like being a person of color like back then and dealing with all these things and like it got to like the like tell me something I don't know sort of thing, but it felt more like a Samuel Jackism than it felt like a Nick Fury.
But I think the two have blended in at this point. Like
because when you look back at like the Avengers, the first Avengers movies where you see Nick Fury, I just feel like this Nick Fury is like almost a completely different character in some ways, which is my problem with the show. Is he's like there's just things about it like. And these are small like things like it's just strange to me seeing Nick Fury with like a fedora on and he's acting like kind of lighthearted and he's talking about like that chicken was so good and I was just like but it got to a really cool conversation. But the beginning parts of that I was like this is kind of I don't know if I love what's going on right here.
He's got a different style. He's acting like a little more personable. I think that might have been it. That he in the earlier stages was just like, hey, you're the badass Nick Fury, and you're gonna play him like straight how we want it.
Yes.
And now I feel like he's given a lot of freedom to personalize his character, which I don't know if it's for better or worse, but
it doesn't feel
like weird. Unnatural for me because like I feel like you're just building the character more.
Sure.
But yeah, things are not what you totally expect from Nick Fury, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
Other things I really liked about this episode, again, everything with Ben Mendelsohn and his daughter. Well, they didn't really talk in this episode, but Ben Mendelsohn and then Gaia, they're great. I think Gravik is a great villain so far. Has really good presence and
Agreed.
reasons for why he's doing things.
You know what really bought me into like him as like the revolutionary leader of the Skrulls was that the woman who he let go from the council.
Yeah.
The fact that he
let her
just walk and live means like he really cares about all Skrulls. Like he's like, I'm not going to kill you unless you like give me a reason to, you know?
Yeah.
And so his fight is for his civilization, and I fuck with him more now.
Yeah. And I appreciate that it's not like we're this war. Like he's pretty much being like, and Nick Fury says it too. Like, you think we could allow another like species to live on this planet? Like we've been fighting ourselves forever. And then Gravik's pretty much saying the same thing. Like they're inevitably going to do this thing, probably. Or at least, that's a nihilistic way of thinking about things. Humans, but like it's very plausible.
Sure.
And so I was like, yeah, this is cool. Though the one thing is, like one of the Skrulls was like, well, what if the Avengers show up? He's like, you didn't think I thought of this? I was like, well, which I think is the genetic thing that they're fucking with, which I don't want to give spoilers to like what that is because I know what that is.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay.
So, but I also feel like it's talking about his plan in general. Because like I feel like his plan of installing Skrulls in high level positions and influencing world events and like, bombings and catastrophes to happen is pretty Avenger proof in itself. Like the Avengers, unless a Skrull slips up, the Avengers won't hear about, the Skrulls. And so, it'll just be like world powers colliding and they won't know what to do.
I could see that. Also, like Nick's like, if we had an Avenger get like if a Skrull took control and took the place of an Avenger, that would make things infinitely worse. And I was like, yeah,
it would, yeah.
Which that whole scene with Rhodey,
that was one of my favorites too.
That was so good
because like the slow turn, or maybe it was a quick turn of the conversation, like you realizing that Nick is there for one reason and Rhodey is there for another is pretty like, it's a pretty great realization. And it's also so sad considering like, I feel like all the Avengers owe Nick Fury in some way. And to me, it felt super heartless of Rhodey to be like, no, I'm the one who volunteered to fire your ass,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so in a way,
he's been gone for like 3 years.
Sure. Everyone's mad. Everyone's mad at
him.
Yeah.
And I think Brody's reasons are justified.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't think I didn't see it as heartless. He's not making
his life easy right now.
Sure. But do you think that Brody is a Skrull?
I think it's very possible because to me,
I don't think he is.
But like, I could be wrong, but it feels like he's defending Nick in public, like in these hearings, right? But then
he's more of like defending America, because if he says that an American was there, then that could, like, if they say that Nick was there and like they give a more plausible reason to like start this war to begin with.
Yeah. I think it's very plausible though, because
I think it's plausible.
Rhodey has always come off as like the nice guy, right? And so for him to take this heel turn and be like, nah, you know what? I'm putting my foot down. And this is enough. I feel like that could be like a trip of enough for me to be like, yeah, this might not be our Rhodey, but I would be okay with it not being a Skrull too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? I really liked Olivia Colman's character now.
Her torture scene was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Just all right, cut off the finger.
Yeah, that was great.
Okay.
At first, I really didn't like her. Now I really like her.
Interesting.
If they keep doing more stuff like what they did with her character here. The one thing about that scene that bothered me was she puts this like spear or something, like the big hook or spear, like over the door, and I was like,
what was that?
I don't know what that was for, because even like I thought like she had a plan for it, because that door opens, like it opens from the outside, like you open it up.
Oh.
Like it wasn't like one of those that you like push through.
Maybe they cut it Like
And I
cut,
was
cut
like-
something from the scene.
I was like,
I don't know.
why did she do that? It just
Right.
kept bothering me the whole time. I was like, why did she do that?
I didn't even notice until now. That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the heat was pretty intense. I liked the effect.
Yeah, that was cool. I thought it was great to see a finger cut off in the MCU.
Now I will say I think it was a bit I don't know, cheesy for me that like he broke into this place to save this guy, right? And then like, you know, you could see he was doubting the fact that like, you know, did you tell him anything? And
Right.
and you know, he was already like, I don't know if you did or not, right? And then like, I don't know, the next scene he just takes him to the woods and shoots him. I'm like, I don't know, I feel like that was a bit over dramatic for me. Like he could have shot him at the place, or
yeah, that was
I don't know.
it was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah. I was even watching it with Manny, and he was like, "What is this, the mafia right now?" Like, and I was like, "Yeah, you're right. This is a bit weird." Yeah,
I liked his action scenes, like storming into that place though.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're both very capable.
for sure. For
you know.
Scrolls, you're right.
Um,
You know, and I don't know if we've covered everything, but one of my favorite parts of the episode is the ending, where
yeah, I like that a lot.
oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, this is the first time we're seeing his wife, right? This is
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So a part of me wishes we have seen her before. So this is like a bigger, like, oh crap, right? You know, we have some attachment to the character, but now we're just like worried because like Nick's living with a scroll. It's not like, oh no, what happened to his wife? I don't know.
What do you mean?
You know what? Like, I don't know. To me, it's like I didn't even realize he had a wife.
Yeah,
And
exactly. I think that's like the thing. It's like, oh, Nick's got a wife,
Uh huh.
you know,
But-
and she's the scroll that was like showed her Gravik, showed him Gravik. Like she's the scroll that introduced Gravik to him at the beginning in the
Is
flashback.
that right?
Yes.
You could. I guess I can't tell scrolls apart at this point. But that's crazy. So that scroll has been his wife the entire time.
For a while. And I wouldn't doubt that like Gravik is somewhat of a son to him. We'll see.
Maybe.
Or like an adoptive sort of.
What if Nick knows? I doubt that's the case.
Nick knows what?
That she's a scroll.
Oh, I see what you're getting at.
But I
like,
don't know, like-
Nick's been living with a scroll. She's a scroll
Right.
the whole
Like,
time.
I don't know. I feel
think
like
he knows.
You think he knows?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. It's just that she switched back before he could get in the room. You know?
Because I don't think. Yes.
Right.
Maybe. But I think we had never seen her in like her human form. Or maybe we did earlier at the 90s flashback.
Feel like I did, but
I think she's the scroll that introduced him to Gravik.
that would be very cool. I mean, I'm down for that.
If it turns out that he doesn't know that she's a scroll, I would be very surprised.
I feel
think
like that makes a better story, though. You know, like that
maybe
there's a spy in his own home, right? I feel like that's really cool.
Yeah. But I guess at the same time, like maybe, well, I guess we'll have to see for like the next episode or so if
Right.
that's like, because part of me is like, maybe they showed that she's a scroll because otherwise it would just be this random woman. And we're like, oh, Nick's got a wife.
Maybe, possibly.
And it's like, oh, let's show that she's like, he's with a scroll.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
it's possible, you know. But I'm
Either now
Either
I'm
way,
a
it's
bit
cool.
interested in because I didn't think about it that way. I was
Right,
like,
right.
oh, okay.
that's just his wife.
That's
yeah,
just
and
his
he
wife.
knows, right?
And it's just we didn't know that he had a wife.
Right,
was the
right.
big thing.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting take. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it could go either way.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it could either.
Yeah.
Two.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's our review so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like
Better episode.
I would give it like a 7 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10. I liked it a good
I
bit.
could go 8.
Yeah.
I think there was a couple other cheesy moments that I didn't love in this episode. Like, I think the talk with like Maria Hill's mom was a little. I didn't love it. Like, I think it could have been written a little better.
I don't. Yeah, like he's just not that shaken up about it.
Right.
It seems,
yeah.
and I think
Also, I thought some of her responses were super generic.
yeah.
I don't know. I was just like, whatever. Can we just get past the scene? And then the other scene was
Yeah.
like, the guy in the council like standing up and was like, "Are we just gonna let this happen?" And then they just like karate chops his
Yeah.
neck. I'm just like, so we're just letting assault fly in the council right now. It's just that's fine, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
But those are minor, I guess, details about Secret Invasion. So I'd go 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm much more positive this time around about it.
Nice.
I just still, it's still just like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. Like it's not like something that I'm like gripped by, but I'm like interested.
I mean, it's getting better.
It's getting better.
And I think it's got a lot of potential.
Did you like when Gaia was looking at the species that they were experimenting with? Did you see that little those Easter eggs?
I didn't know. What was the Easter egg?
Okay.
Let me know. Yeah.
So it said Groot.
Okay. Interesting.
And it showed the whole like from Planet X,
wow.
Colossus Flora.
Wow.
It also showed like Frost Beast, and it showed I forget what the third one was, but at the last one that it showed was the what was the thing from Iron Man 3 Extremis? Had Extremis on there.
Oh. Wow.
So they're like experimenting with all these different.
That's really neat.
And you'll see what that is, which I'm excited about. I'm excited about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I want to go back and see that scene now for Groot.
Yeah. I was like, Ian's got to see this.
Yeah, I guess I
just
missed
see
it.
that. That's crazy. It literally said Groot in big letters.
I also thought that scene though, where like Gaia was spying on the scientists, I was like, she is hiding terribly. She was just standing there. I was like, well, anyone could just look over. She was behind a pole, I guess. But I'm like, I don't know, man. Anyone could look over and be like, oh God. I don't know. It's just.
But I think speaking with Secret Invasion, we should mention that they had some numbers come out recently.
Yeah. So in the past 5 days, or in the first 5 days of the first episode that released, only 994,000 people watched. Really low. Second lowest premiere of any MCU show. Which
was Miss Marvel, which had 775,000.
Jeez, that's low. Wow.
I mean, it is, but it's not like... It's not astronomically low, because like the other numbers is She-Hulk, which had 1.5 million.
That's quite a bit.
That's double it,
right?
But that's not like.
I mean, it's 500,000 more than Secret Invasion.
But Loki and Moon Knight both had Loki had 2.5 million, and then Moon Knight had 1.8.
Wow, I'm surprised. Okay,
yeah.
What about like do you know WandaVision?
No, I don't know that one. That's not the one that I read. But I think some people have been speculating that maybe this is because of Marvel putting out subpar material or just superhero material from other studios being subpar.
I guess I'm just surprised because they had this 8-month break from shows. I was like, oh, this is plenty of time for people to take a break from Disney Plus shows, and then you get thrown into a very cool espionage, Winter Soldier story. I feel like this was just suited to be really popular, and it's not, which is a little worrisome.
I think that when you look at Miss Marvel's numbers and you look at this one, I don't find it surprising because Miss Marvel is the newest comic book character. She came out in the 2010s.
Right.
And this is, even though it's Nick Fury,
it's Samuel L. Jackson, though. You think he's a huge name.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. But it's not a superhero. It's not it's somebody not a superhero. You go to the comics to see most of the time. I guess he has his own comics, but.
Yeah. Exactly. So I guess for me, it's not. I don't think it's that concerning. I don't think it has much to do with people just being bored of assumingly bored of comic book material.
No, I do think Loki season 2 is going to do better. I think.
Well, yeah, because Loki's an established character.
Right, and an established show already. People have there's a fan base already for the show.
Right.
And I
think I think maybe the counter argument would be like, well, Moon Knight wasn't exactly well known, but I still think Moon Knight
Sure, but
has
you had star power and a lot of comic book fans behind it, you know?
Yeah. Which you could say the same thing about Nick Fury, but I just don't think, like, something about Secret Invasion, I just don't think gets the same amount of, also because it looks a lot more serious.
Sure.
Like, I think maybe that has something to do with it. And then you look at She-Hulk. She-Hulk's been around a long time. And also it was like definitely getting a bunch of press coverage, either good or bad.
Right. People were going to tune in because, you know, Hulk was in it. And yeah. So I don't know. That's an interesting one. I mean, I've always been, not always, but like recently I've been pushing back against like the idea that there is superhero fatigue. Just people are like more picky about the movies they want to watch today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think this was like one of the first ones where it really made me think like it could be real, you know?
With this show?
The superhero fatigue, you know?
I don't think that superhero fatigue is necessarily real this time. I think, because we'll talk about it with The Flash coming up, but I think it's the same thing that like James Gunn was saying, that it's bad movie fatigue. And if they're still they're like boring movie fatigue, and if it's all under like the superhero genre, it's going to be more associated. But when you look at Guardians 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse,
both insanely successful.
I don't think that has, you know.
I feel you. So I mean, that was my argument too, that it was just people have less patience for bad movies these days.
Yeah.
And yeah.